Hello, my name's Gavin Houchell from the Acquire Group. I'm delighted today to be joined by Matt Muscio, the CEO from Life Healthcare. So welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Gavin.
So, Matt, I know your career spanned a number of years. I think, was it 14, 15 years with Johnson & Johnson?
13,
working through sales and marketing and commercial operations. And then you moved into Life Healthcare back in 2013. And at that stage, I think it was private equity owned, was it?
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
And then stepped into the saddle of the number one role and CEO and IPO'd, so quite an exciting journey in the last few years for you.
Absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely.
And many people will be familiar with the Johnson & Johnson business or perhaps some of the products and services, but perhaps you can educate us a little bit on Life Healthcare business.
Sure, yeah. So Life Healthcare was founded in 2006. It was a roll-up supported by private equity of a number of distributors in the Australian and New Zealand market. Since that time, the business has evolved into a distributor that's focused in a number of therapeutic channels. So we operate across spine and neurosurgery, cardiology, orthopedics, general surgery. But essentially the business differs from other multinationals like J&J in that we are a distributor. So we look for innovative spaces where we either see disruptive or innovative technology, and then we utilise a global sourcing opportunity to fit the needs of the Australian market.
Right.
So we'll go and look at technology across all other landscapes and then decide what fits well, and specifically pick partners who are going to help us design products that are specific to the Australian market, and then our aim is to dominate those channels here.
Fantastic. And how did your sort of earlier career, I alluded to obviously a long tenure in J&J, but how did that set you up for a CEO position?
Yeah, so I was fortunate to really have my early part of my career learning in J&J, which is a fantastic organisation. I through some design in terms of wanting to develop into a strong manager, chose to go down both sales and marketing pathways. Both as an individual performer and then managing teams. And for me, it was really going and taking advantage of studying within a great business model like Johnson & Johnson, but also benefiting from some amazing training that they put in place. And then really had the opportunity to accelerate in a business like Life Healthcare, where I had exposure to different areas of business acumen, particularly around contracting and building businesses, and then understanding capital markets, both in a private equity and a public setting that really all attributed to taking the role last August.
Wow, fantastic. And many executives I support contemplate their career moves or next move based on things such as ownership models of businesses.
Yes.
So be multinational or private companies, private equity, as you alluded to, and even listed vehicles. So
Yes.
what have been some of the learns you've been through? All facets in a relatively short period of time. So talk us through what you've seen there.
Look, all very different business models. When you look at multinationals, and particularly my opportunity in a company like J&J, you really do see some nice elements of best practice. You've got the security of an organisation that clearly has great strategy, has a lot of capital behind it in order to go and develop market-leading products. But what it also brings with it is the size of an organisation like that. Limitations in terms of the role that you play, the ability that you have to influence the pathway of the organisation, and obviously at times the speed with which you can go and take advantage of opportunities. I was within private equity setting for 12 months, and certainly what became obvious to me is the urgency in a business like that, the accountability, the need to deliver results and be beholden to those results. So that was quite different. And then as I move into a publicly listed environment, you certainly see that we've got an organisation that's continued to mature. We've got different reporting requirements now, so it does bring a stronger element of governance than what it previously did, but you still have the flexibility to determine your own path. So I think for me, and reflecting upon what other people may consider, part of it is going to be the area of technology that you like to operate in and whether those models are going to be more effective, but also the way in which you like to operate. If you're someone who likes to be incredibly thorough and work in bigger teams. Multinationals are great places to develop and build. Alternatively, if you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, you really want to have a go and at the same time be accountable to your results, then a private equity setting or a publicly listed setting can be maybe a little more fun.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And thinking now with the sort of sole leader hat on, what would you say you most love about being in the number one role? And if you're happy to share, what do you fear?
Sure. So look, for me, through my management career and now being the CEO of the organisation, watching success and watching people develop is definitely the most satisfying element. Building businesses is nice, and it certainly feels good from a personal perspective to look back on those achievements. But to watch people come into the organisation and go down a development path and build acumen, build confidence is most satisfying. What do I fear? Look, I fear letting my team down. I fear not being able to deliver the leadership that they need, particularly when businesses are going through harder times, at times in crisis. Although I must say, when I reflect back on those, they are the times where I've built more character and built more strength for myself internally. The one other thing for me as a leader that I fear is losing touch. So where you no longer have as much time with your customers, or you don't get as much time with all areas of the organisation. It's an area I work hard on in terms of making sure I walk the floor and that I remain relevant to my customers. But what I don't want to be is find myself suddenly used to a corner office and not being a part of everything else the organisation wants to do.
Sure. And has there been any sort of people that you've leaned on in respect to sort of tips or tricks around balancing the time in the business and on the business?
Yeah, definitely. So I've had mentors both through my J&J period and subsequently. I've got a fantastic board who are highly supportive of me and offer a variety of different skills that have been great. For me, interestingly, I think the most effective feedback channel I have are people who work within the business and are people who I trust and who really do give me some fairly unadulterated perspectives on what my leadership looks like. They see me operating day to day and they give me very honest opinions. So I think when I combine all of those, it's given me what I need. Great
perspective. Now, picking up on the comment around the board and obviously being in a public company, that's an interesting territory. So if I can ask you one final question, it's a bit of a hypothetical, but let's imagine you could bring in 2 new board members for the next meeting.
Yep.
And it's hypothetical, so perhaps they're dead or alive.
Yep.
Who would they be and why would you bring them in?
So look, I'll resist maybe making a personal choice and whether or not it was a Mick Fanning or Bono from U2, someone like that. For me, right now, there's probably a couple that are maybe a little obvious. I'd invite the Health Minister, Susan Ley, first of all, because I think we're going through a period of reform in healthcare, and I think the understanding of industry has got better for government, but I think I would value an opportunity for her to see in depth what the business does in terms of delivering value to clinicians, to patients, to the healthcare sector more broadly. And then one that's a little bit more recent is I attended an event earlier on this week with Scott Farquhar from Atlassian. And I got to say, I was incredibly impressed. A very dynamic young guy who has built a very impressive empire in a quick period of time. And whilst his industry is quite different to the one that I operate in, I'd love to hear his entrepreneurial mindset, his outside of the square perspective on where a business like Life Healthcare could go and maybe how we might do it. So it'd be interesting to watch the 2 of them going toe to toe on some topics as well. So,
a 7 billion valuation is always a good thing as well.
Look, maybe it'll help set my new aspirations as well.
I think you've done pretty well so far. So great to have you here today, Matt. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Gavin.
Cheers.
Cheers.